Caishikou has never been just a place of execution. It was a cold-blooded system built around death itself, an intricate machinery of engineering, psychology, and political intimidation. A hellish construct of man and mud, with blood-soaked foundations, bricks forged from fear, and despair as its mortar. Stand there, really stand there, and you'll feel it. The sticky pull of blood and soil beneath your feet, the cloying metallic sweetness in the air, the glint of the executioner's blade on the platform gleaming, precise, terrifying. And the crowd? Whipped into a frenzy, screaming on cue. That's when it hits you, chills running down your spine, that the scariest part was never the blade itself. Welcome to Caishikou. Ready to unlearn everything you thought you knew about execution grounds? The story that follows will take you into its deepest, darkest corners. The sand at Caishikou has drunk its fill of blood. Step on it, and there's a sickening, sticky squelch that weighs on the heart. The autumn of 1898 was particularly bleak, with wind that reeked of rust and rot, slicing like knives against your bare neck. You, Li Tianlei, had just turned 20, the youngest executioner this ground had ever seen. The ancestral blade was heavy on your back, its hilt polished black by generations of sweat and blood. It had never dulled in your hands, never missed. The muffled thud of severed heads landing in the bamboo basket was your lullaby. But when Master Deng Tingzhen was dragged onto the grounds, the clink of his shackles scraping the blood-stained dirt sliced through your nerves. Your blood froze. How could it be him? The man who'd lifted you from the guttered corners of an abandoned temple, who'd knocked sense into your chaos with the scent of old ink and paper. The scholar who taught you to read, who once said, "A man must stand with a backbone." Now he stood in filthy prison garb, yet his back was straight as ever. His clouded eyes swept past the execution officer, past the sea of onlookers, and landed calmly on you. No hatred, no fear. Only a deep, unfathomable sorrow, like a frozen lake in winter. It looked straight through to your soul. For the first time, your hands trembled around the blade. The thick callus at your thumb rubbed against the freezing hilt. That steely resolve you always wielded, sharp, clean, ruthless, was shattered by that gaze. It pierced through you. Your chest ached, as if an invisible fist were squeezing your heart, each beat a throb of agony. "Time!" The execution officer's shrill voice tore through the air like a death knell. A command flag marked with "Execute" fluttered down beside your feet, landing in the bloody muck with a thud. All sound vanished. All but your own pounding heartbeat, heavy, relentless, deafening. You took a deep breath. The air, thick with blood and dust, burned your lungs. You tried to steady the panic, clawing its way out of your chest. Your arms tensed, gathering the strength honed over generations. The blade swung high, catching the pale autumn sun with a murderous gleam, ready to cleave fate itself. It came down, with all your might, toward the scrawny, upright neck of Master Deng. Clang! The sound rang out, not of flesh-meeting steel, but of metal crashing against metal. A deafening, bone-rattling shriek. The impact kicked back like you'd struck an iron wall. Agony ripped through your arms. You felt your muscles tear, your bones shatter inch by inch. Your grip burst open. Blood flowed hot and fast down the handle. The demon blade that had claimed countless lives was stuck frozen against Master Deng's neck. It hadn't even broken the skin, not a single mark. The crowd fell silent, then erupted screaming in terror. The execution officer leapt from his seat, face drained of color. You stood frozen, arms screaming in pain, eyes locked on that eerily calm face. Deng's eyes were shut, his lips curled in a faint, cold smile. Soldiers rushed in, wrestled the unmoving blade from your hands, and shoved a standard executioner's sword into your grasp. The blade fell. Clean. Efficient. Deng's white-haired head tumbled to the ground. His body, spurting dark, syrupy blood, collapsed in a heavy heap. His eyes never opened. You were dragged away, limp arms dangling like boneless snakes. The roar of the crowd, the guards' shouts, the execution officers' barking all turned into background noise. Only that eerie clang and the impossible resistance of Deng's skin remained, burned into your mind. The ancestral blade was discarded in a muddy corner, caked in filth and black blood. The echo of that defiant clang lingered in the metal's chill. You staggered to it, picked it up with numb fingers. Your own blood and Deng's mixed on the hilt, sticky, cold. Somehow, dazed and stumbling, you made it home. The cramped courtyard at the end of a damp, iron-scented alley near Caishikou. The heavy wooden door shut behind you, cutting off the last sounds of the outside world. Silence, thick as ink, swallowed you whole. You leaned against the cold wood, gasping. Sweat soaked through your thin underclothes. Your arms throbbed, a living reminder of the nightmare. Thud, 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 slow, damp, and squishy. The knocking came without warning. Not on the door, on your heart. Your breath stopped. All the blood in your body surged to your skull, then froze. Who could it be? In the dead of night, in this cursed place, who would come knocking on an executioner's door? You held your breath and listened. Nothing. Not even a stray dog whining. Only that knock. Again. Again. Closer. Closer still. As if the thing outside was leaning right up against the door. A chill shot up your spine like lightning. Your scalp tingled. You suddenly recalled the drunken tales of old executioners, of headless corpses finding their way home, of blood seeping through rain-slick streets, of necks that couldn't be cut. Cold, crushing fear clamped down on your heart. "Who's there?" You forced out a raspy shout, trying to steady your voice. Silence. The knocking stopped. Just when you thought it might have been your imagination, a sound came. Slow, wet, like two soggy planks grinding together. A voice with no throat, gravelly, inhuman, slithered through the door. "Tianlei, open the door." It was Master Deng's voice, and yet it wasn't. It dripped with something unholy, cold as the grave, thick with hatred. Every syllable scraped your eardrums like a rusted blade. Terror rooted you to the floor. You couldn't move. The voice, the headless body. They were right outside. Boom! A crash. But not from the door behind you, inside the house. You spun around. The flimsy bedroom door exploded inward, as if struck by an invisible force. It slammed into the wall with a groan, and in the pale moonlight you saw it. A twisted, rigid figure stood at the doorway of your bedroom, its back to you, dressed in tattered prison rags, headless. Where the neck should have been, only a black, mangled mess of torn flesh. Its arms hung limp, fingertips dripping thick, putrid black blood, pooling slowly on the dusty floor. The stench of rot and blood instantly filled the cramped front room. How had it gotten in? The headless body began to turn slowly, unnaturally, its joints creaking with nauseating cracks, until the gaping wound of its neck faced you directly, like a sightless black eye. Your mind went blank, screaming with primal terror. You wanted to run, but your legs were lead. You wanted to scream, but your throat felt gripped by an icy fist. The corpse moved jerky, puppet-like, dragging its heavy feet toward the decrepit ancestral altar in the corner. The altar was bare, save for a censer thick with ash. It reached out, hands caked in blood and mud, fumbling with a grotesque focus. Its fingers stopped on the cold wooden surface and began to move. A hair-raising scraping followed the sound of nails clawing across wood, sharp and unbearable in the dead of night. Oozing black blood trailed from its fingers, leaving smeared, crooked streaks across the dusty surface. It wasn't fumbling, it was writing. Your heart pounded so hard it threatened to burst. Eyes fixed on the table. Cold sweat slid down your temple into your eyes, stinging but you dared not blink. In the dim light, the blood words took shape, crooked strokes like writhing worms in their death throes. Within 7 days, your killer shall be one you have saved. At the last stroke, the corpse convulsed violently, as if spent. It froze there, stiff before the altar, reeking so strongly of death it choked you. Time froze. You stared at those 8 bloody characters, each one a branding iron searing into your eyes. Your soul. Your killer shall be one you have saved. You murmured the words, stunned, as a wave of icy dread surged up from your feet, freezing your limbs. A curse? A prophecy? A judgment from the depths of hell? And then, without warning, the corpse collapsed, like rotted wood caving in. It crashed to the floor with a dull thud, kicking up a cloud of dust. Its body twisted grotesquely, neck stump facing you, dark, mangled flesh, stretched like a soundless, mocking grin. You couldn't hold it in. Your stomach churned, and with a wrenching heave, you vomited everything left inside you. The sour stench of bile mixed with the overpowering corpse smell, nearly making you faint. By dawn, a few summoned but reluctant constables finally arrived, noses pinched, cursing as they wrapped the reeking corpse in a straw mat and hauled it away. Buckets of pungent lime water were poured over the courtyard, but they couldn't wash away the bone-deep chill and stench of blood. With trembling hands, you hacked away the section of the altar bearing the blood curse, splinters and dried black blood flying. You shoved the carved plank beneath your pillow, burying the omen as best you could. But it seared into your nerves like a red-hot brand. Within 7 days, your killer shall be one you have saved. The words buzzed in your mind like a swarm of venomous bees. Fear coiled cold around your heart, tighter each day. Like a caged beast, you paced the courtyard that still stank of lime and death, your eyes drifting to the walls, the shut gate and the ancestral execution blade standing silently in its corner, caked in ominous filth. Saved? You, an executioner of Caishikou, lived with death daily. Your blade only ever ended lives. What did saving someone even mean to a man like you? And your killer, how could it possibly be someone you'd saved? The paradox suffocated you. On the 3rd day, as dusk fell, a cold drizzle began to fall. Chaos stirred from the direction of Caishikou, louder, more frantic than a typical execution. Women's cries pierced the din, screaming, pleading. The wails cut through the rain like icy needles, stabbing into your numb nerves. Something about them pulled at you. Compelled, you found yourself at the gate, opening a crack to peer outside. At the alley's mouth, several brutal constables were dragging a young woman. Her hair was wild, face streaked with mud and tears. Her coarse clothes were torn, bruises blooming across her limbs. She thrashed and screamed, "Please, let me go. My husband's innocent. He did nothing wrong. Please, I'm all alone if he dies. Have mercy." Her voice cracked with desperation. A constable, face thick with cruelty, kicked her in the waist and snarled, "Shut your damn mouth. Your man's a rebel lackey, harbored subversive writings. Deserves worse than death. And you filthy wench, you're going with him. Off to the pleasure bureau. Scream one more time and I'll finish you now." The pleasure bureau hell on earth. All the neighbors had slammed shut their windows and doors. No one dared look. Cold rain needled your face as you watched her dragged through the mud, like trash about to be tossed. Her eyes, bottomless with despair, hooked something deep inside you. A part, long buried in blood and numbness. You remembered yourself, years ago. Same rain, same hopelessness. And it was Master Deng's warm hand that pulled you from the filth. Saved. The blood-written words beneath your pillow flashed before your eyes, searing hot. A mad thought took root in your chest, defying every executioner's code. Save her. Save this woman crushed into the dirt by fate, just as broken as you once were. Stop! The shout burst from you, startling even yourself. Hoarse, but sharp against the rain. The constables froze and turned, seeing you. Li Tianlei, the butcher of Caishikou. Fear flickered in their eyes. You strode over, planting yourself between them and the woman. Rain streamed down your face. Your gaze was ice. You ignored the head constable's startled look and rested your hand on your waist knife. It was a plain blade, but paired with your reputation and fury, it was deadly. Master Li? The constable asked, voice softening. She's a wanted rebel's widow. I killed her husband myself. You cut him off. Voice low but sharp. The dead owe nothing. She's just a woman. Why hunt her down like this? You reached into your robe and tossed out a few silver bits, the savings you'd set aside for a new blade. You didn't look. Just dropped them into the muddy ground at the constable's feet. Buy yourselves a drink. She's staying with me. If your bosses ask, tell them. Li Tianlei claimed her. The head constable looked from the silver to your hand on the hilt to your dead-eyed stare. He hesitated. These street-level thugs knew how to bully the weak and avoid trouble. Was it worth crossing Caishikou's butcher for a woman doomed to be sold? The silver wasn't much, but it was free. His eyes darted, then he bent to grab the coins, wiping them on his filthy tunic. A twisted smile crept onto his face. Well, since you've spoken, Master Li, we'll let this one slide. She's yours. We're leaving. Right now. He waved his men off. They vanished into the misty rain like plague fleeing the light. Only the sound of rain remained, and your ragged breathing. The woman lay curled in the mud, shivering like a dying fledgling. She looked up, face caked in dirt and tears, eyes wide and vacant with fear. You walked over, silent. Took off your damp outer robe and wrapped it around her without a word. It smelled of sweat and blood, but it blocked the cold rain. You grabbed her wrists, small, freezing, filthy, and pulled her up. She weighed almost nothing. Her skin, ice. Without speaking, you led her, stumbling, back to your courtyard that still reeked of lime and corpses. The heavy door creaked shut behind you, sealing out the storm. There's firewood behind the kitchen, you muttered, voice rough. You pointed to the low-shadowed structure. You couldn't meet her eyes, couldn't let her into the hall. The nightmare still lingered there. Later, you'd learn her name was Zhang. Like a frightened rabbit, she darted behind the firewood, eyes peeking out in fear. You returned to the hall and sat on the cold threshold. Rain beat down on the roof. The silver was gone. In its place, a colossal mess. You'd broken the executioner's code. Rule 1. Never involve yourself with a prisoner's family. You'd sheltered a rebel's widow. If word got out, you were as good as dead. But worse than fear was the thought lurking under your pillow was saving her, the fulfillment of the blood-drenched prophecy. Your killer shall be one you have saved. The weight pressed on your chest. You couldn't breathe. You glanced at the ancestral execution blade standing silently in the corner. The dried mud and black blood on the blade looked like an ugly scar. You walked over, grabbed a rag, dipped it into the cold water jar, and began scrubbing the blade hard. The cold metal and the rasp of friction brought a strange calm to your tangled thoughts. In the dim light, the steel began to gleam again, revealing its icy edge, reflecting your exhausted, twisted face. Zhang curled up in the firewood pile for 2 full days and nights. She barely made a sound, only creeping out occasionally to timidly ask for water, like a silent shadow. You tossed her a couple of cold, hard corn buns, and she took them without a word, nibbling them slowly. Her eyes stayed downcast, avoiding yours. A suffocating silence and suspicion filled the courtyard. You couldn't sleep, haunted by the feeling of eyes watching from the shadows. Those 8 bloodied words burned in your mind day and night. The 6th day arrived, the final deadline of the prophecy. Night fell like a giant cloth soaked in ink, heavy and suffocating. Not a breath of wind stirred the air. Even the insects fell silent. A faint, almost imperceptible scent of something burning slowly crept in from some unseen corner. At first, you thought it was just leftover embers in the stove. But the smell grew stronger, sharper, tinged with the bitter panic of overheated wood. Your heart clenched. You shot up from the hall's threshold. No, this wasn't embers. Fire! A shrill scream tore through the silence. It was Zhang, terrified beyond measure. Like a panther jolted by flame, you leapt toward the kitchen. The sight made your scalp crawl. The firewood pile Zhang's shelter was engulfed in a strange, nearly invisible smoke. It churned and twisted, pale blue-white, acrid and suffocating. Hidden flames flickered deep within, crackling as they devoured the dry wood. The fire spread fast. Half the pile was already lost in smoke and heat. Zhang hovered near the edge of the smoke, trying to lunge in, only to be forced back by the scorching air. She coughed, violently, face streaked with soot and tears, screaming in despair, "My bundle! My bundle's still in there!" No time to think. The looming dread from those 8 blood words was erased by the blazing inferno before you. Save her! You had to save her! The thought crushed everything else. With a growl, you tore off your thin shirt and soaked it completely in the courtyard's water vat. The icy sting made you shiver. You grabbed the dripping shirt and wrapped it over your face, leaving only your eyes red from the firelight exposed. Drawing a breath full of cold, wet air, you lunged like a tiger, diving straight into the churning smoke and hungry flames of the firewood pile. Boom! Entering the smoke was like crashing into a furnace from hell. Scorching heat wrapped around your exposed skin like a branding iron. Even with the wet cloth, the acrid smoke burned your eyes and throat, your lungs aflame. All you saw was a blur of pale and crimson. Heat twisted the air, warping your vision. You groped forward, relying on memory, clawing toward where Zhang had pointed. Burning wood seared your arms and legs. Agony shot through you. In the smoke, you glimpsed a half-charred blue cloth bundle, its edges curling into blackened ash. That was it. Gritting your teeth, you dove forward. The hot air scorched your face. You reached out, blistered hands clutching the burning bundle strap. Just as your fingers closed on it, "Reap!" a heart-stopping tear echoed above. Then, a heavy crash with a howling gust. You looked up in horror. A massive support beam, rotted in fire, weakened, snapped at that moment, wreathed in flames. It plummeted like a dragon of fire, roaring down right where you stood. Death bore down on you, flames and weight, unstoppable. There was no escape. Was this it? The prophecy fulfilled? In the final second before flame devoured you, time slowed, stretched, twisted. Through the whipping fire and smoke, you saw her. Not far behind, Zhang stood in the chaos of flame and ash. Fire danced across her soot-smeared face, but that once timid, fearful face was now blank. Cold, rigid, like a lifeless mask. In her hand, she held a blade. Not a kitchen knife, not your waist blade. Long, narrow, with a curve that sent shivers down your soul. A black hilt, your ancestral execution blade. How was it in her hand? Worse behind her. A distorted, silent figure in tattered prison clothes stood motionless. The neck, a gaping black wound, shredded and bottomless. It was Master Deng. His headless corpse loomed behind her like a shadow from hell. One bony, blood-stained hand gripped her shoulder like a puppet master with his marionette. Zheng's cold, lifeless eyes stared through the fire and smoke straight at you. Her arm, guided by that headless ghost, slowly lifted the blade. Jerky, inhuman. The cold steel gleamed in the firelight sharp, deadly, aimed at your back. Your killer shall be one you have saved. The bloody prophecy was no longer a warning, it was real and horrifying. That face, that blade, that headless body, a portrait from the depths of hell. A howl tore from your smoke-scorched throat, part agony, part understanding. Overhead, the burning beam came crashing down with unstoppable force. Flames devoured your sight. Your skin sizzled, hair burned. Pain consumed every nerve. Behind you, the cold edge of that execution blade pierced your back, through flesh, through bone. The prophecy fulfilled. Fire and ice, the most excruciating torment descended at once. And in your final moment, before pain and darkness tore you apart, everything, every sign, every clue flashed together like a bolt of white lightning, clear at last in your burning mind. Master Deng's sorrowful yet resolute gaze, the eerie metallic clang of a failed execution. The headless corpse knocking at midnight, writing doom in black blood, Zhang's perfectly timed cries. The constable's too easy surrender, the ghostly smoke, the woman raising the blade. This wasn't fate. It was a trap, a death spiral, crafted with blood, vengeance, and fire. A ritual altar built from hatred and sorrow. And from the moment your blade fell upon your teacher's neck, you were already the sacrifice. The flames consumed you whole. Darkness and agony swallowed you. And far away, in the depths of Caishikou's execution ground, the ancestral execution blade lay abandoned in the mud. Its dried filth and black blood flaked off, revealing once more the icy steel beneath.